All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to UnPack This. I am your host, Gloria Bailey Ray, known as the Authentic Coach. And I am excited that you are here with me today. So, welcome again to Unpack This. This is where we unpack the psychology behind authenticity, boundaries, and leadership so women can stop overgiving and start living self led lives. The podcast itself is here and unpack this. We don't sugarcoat truth. We don't romanticize dysfunction, and we don't stay silent about what women are really experiencing. So, if you're joining me live, welcome. Let me know where you're watching from or what this topic means to you. You can place your comment in the comment section. Today, we are unpacking something that is deeply ingrained in our emotional conditioning. I want to talk to you about stop romanticizing struggle. Love shouldn't hurt. Stop romanticizing struggle. Love shouldn't hurt. Because today's conversation is not just about relationships, you guys. It's about identity. It's about emotional programming. And it's the narratives that many of us have inherited about what love is supposed to feel like, right? Uh, there are so many people that believe love is proven through endurance, through sacrifice, and get this, through suffering. And while relationships absolutely require effort and growth, let me tell you, pain is not the price of admission for love. And so today, we're just going to explore why so many people believe that you got to have pain in order to have love, right? But let me ask you something. When did struggle become proof of love? When did exhaustion become commitment? And when did staying become more important than being well? If you've ever said these words, I know I have. We've been through so much together. I'm just going to ask you to type, so much in the comments. Because today, what we're doing is we're unpacking something I had to learn the hard way. Love shouldn't hurt. And I can tell you something about that. And I didn't always believe that. So, how I learned to, I guess, equate struggle with love, well, and probably some of you. So, I'll start with this psychological truth. That is, human beings learn love through modeling what they see, through observations, through what is called emotional imprinting. So, a lot of us from a young age, we watch how affection is expressed, but also how conflict is handled. And when you think about it, that also kind of falls into how emotional safety is created, or I should say, not created, right? And these experiences, they shape what psychologists would call our relational blueprint. So if love felt inconsistent, if attention had to be earned, if approval only came when you performed or sacrificed, I'm here to tell you, your nervous system learned that love requires effort to maintain. So struggle begins to feel normal to you, right? Probably familiar, even in some cases, I guess, even necessary. And as adults, we unconsciously create emotional environments that feel familiar even when they hurt. Why is that? Because the nervous system does not prioritize happiness. What it does prioritize is, the familiarity of things. So let me talk to you a little bit about how I learned to normalize struggle. In my book, When to Get Up from the Table, I talk about the moment I realized I had confused endurance with loyalty. There was a season in my life where I believed that if I just held on longer, it would eventually get better. Not abusive, not catastrophic, just emotionally draining. Constant negotiation, constant explaining, constant proving. And guess what? I told myself, this is just what mature love looks like. But you know what? What I was actually experiencing was what I'm going to refer to as emotional depletion, right? Have you ever convinced yourself that you were strong enough to handle something that was slowly breaking you down? And so I'm just going to ask you this. All you got to do, type strong in the comment section, right? If you've done that, if you can relate to that. And here's why: because strong women are often the last ones to admit that they are exhausted. And I mean exhausted, right? And this is real. This is really real. And there is a difference. There's a difference between chemistry and conditioning. Because how many times have you heard people say, I've said it, heard people say, we have chemistry. But honestly, what does that actually mean? Sometimes what feels like chemistry is actually nervous system activation. Your body becomes alert, you're focused. There's an emotional heighten around things. And that intensity, of course, gets mistaken for deep connection. Listen, intensity does not equal intimacy. Let that sit there. Intensity does not equal intimacy. Intimacy is safe. Intimacy is emotional consistency. Intimacy actually allows your body to relax rather than brace for impact. And if calm feels uncomfortable to you, it actually may be because calm is wrong. It may be because calm is unfamiliar to you. So let me unpack something personal. There was a time when intensity felt intoxicating, no doubt about it. The deep talks, the dramatic reconciliations, the emotional highs. Woof, yes, it felt passionate, but it was inconsistent. And it's the inconsistency that keeps your nervous system alert, always on alert. So in my book, I write about sitting at a table, both metaphorically and literally, realizing that I was performing strength instead of experiencing partnership. And that was the shift. I really and truly, I wasn't being loved. It was more like I was being tested. So let me ask you, does your relationship feel like rest or rehearsal? Let that sit with you for a moment. Now, there is a thing that I like to refer to as trauma bonding. And I'll just kind of get a little deep into that, which is there's one powerful dynamic that keeps people in this painful relationship, and it's called trauma. It's trauma bonding. And trauma bonding occurs when emotional pain is followed by moments of affection or reconciliation. See, our brain our brain releases dopamine and oxytocin during these repair moments, right? And those chemicals create an attachment. So guess what? The cycle becomes this: pain, relief, connection, hope, then pain again. And the relief after pain feels so powerful that the relationship begins to feel meaningful, even when it's harmful, right? So, with that being said, one of the most honest chapters in my book is about waiting for the good days, the days when things felt, I'm going to say, soft again, when the apology came, when the effort showed up. And I would think, this is who we really are. Let me tell you what I learned. And this is important, is that potential is not pattern. Potential is not pattern. Potential is imagination, whereas pattern is truth. And I just want to tell you, once I stopped falling in love with potential, I started seeing reality clearly. So let me ask you something gently, softly. Are you in love with who someone is or who you hope they will become? Just type hope in the comment section if that question stings, if it brings up something for you. Just type hope up there, right? And add to this something I would call intermittent reinforcement. And you say, what is that? What is that? Well, when affection is unpredictable, sometimes warm, sometimes withdrawn, what happens is the brain becomes more invested. Because guess what? The unpredictability of a situation increases emotional focus. You start chasing the good moments, minimizing the difficult or bad ones. And guess what? You end up calling it love. Imagine that. Well, guess what? Let me tell you why I stayed. And I stayed longer than I should have. And this is why I'm doing this series, this women's series, as it relates to the things that we need to get up from, right? I said that I stayed longer than I should have. And it wasn't because I didn't know better, but it was because I had invested. I invested time, emotion, identity. And honestly, leaving felt like failure. And I know there are a lot of you women out there that are relating to this. You felt like failure. But in my book, When to Get Up from the Table, when love is not being served, I describe this moment of clarity, when clarity arrived to me. Now, let me just tell you, it didn't come up and bowl me over. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. But it was a quiet moment. It was this realization that I was negotiating for crumbs while telling myself it was a feast. Ooh, if you think about that, crumbs versus a feast. So my question is, are you negotiating for crumbs and calling it commitment? Now, let me speak honestly about why I'm going to call them high capacity women stay longer, right? I guess some people would say I fall in that category, and I'm okay with that because it's about growth. But here's the thing, a lot of high capacity women who are strong, emotionally intelligent, they stay longer in unhealthy relationships. And it's not because they lack awareness, but because they possess what I'm going to say is endurance, problem solvers, caregivers, leaders. And when you are used to carrying responsibility, I think a lot of times we all may unconsciously carry relationships too. So the belief becomes, if I just communicate better, right? Or if I just love deeper, if I just stay patient. Y'all, partnership is not about one person doing the emotional heavy lifting. That's not resilience. I'm going to call it what it is. That's imbalance. Exactly. So, with that, one of the things that I think many people romanticize the struggle because they've learned to deal with self abandonment early on. And maybe you too learn to avoid conflict to maintain peace, right? Because conflict is very uncomfortable. And maybe you learn that expressing needs created tension. Maybe you learn that being easy made you lovable. So what you do, you adapted. You minimized yourself. You prioritized harmony over authenticity. And you know what? Over time, you lost connection with your own emotional signals. You stopped asking, what do I need? And started asking, what will keep this relationship intact? Ladies, self led living requires relearning self trust. Here's something I had to own. I wasn't just being mistreated, I was self abandoning, I was minimizing my needs to preserve connection. And that is something many high capacity women do so beautifully. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We endure, we rationalize, we intellectualize, but emotional maturity required me to ask, why am I accepting this? And in that moment, that question changed my life. So have you asked yourself that lately? Maybe, maybe not. Again, in the book, When to Get Up from the Table, one of the things that I describe is the moment of liberation. That's right, liberation. Not the moment I left, the moment that I emotionally detached, the moment I stopped explaining myself, the moment I stopped arguing for my worth. And also, it was just the moment that I realized, you know what? The table was never mine. I was just invited. And when you understand that, something shifts. You stop begging for space. You start building your own table. So let me ask you this. Are you sitting somewhere out of habit or alignment? It's a good question. Let it sit with you, you know, because I want to talk to you for just a moment and just share with you, you know what healthy love actually should look like. Healthy love is not dramatic, ladies. It's not chaotic. It does not require constant emotional recovery. Healthy love includes emotional safety, accountability, consistency, respectful communication, and growth without fear. Did you guys get that? Healthy love allows disagreements without dealing with emotional punishment. It allows repair without humiliation. And guess what? It allows you to remain fully yourself, your true, authentic self. That part right there is real. But you know what? Here's something I think many people do not realize, and that is that peace. Peace can be uncomfortable, right? Um, I find that a lot of times people look at it and especially if your nervous system is used to intensity, calm can feel unfamiliar, even boring. But let me tell you, calm is not the absence of passion. Calm is the presence of safety. And learning to tolerate peace is part of emotional healing, right? So let's talk about, you know, just some clarity around this. Just straight up clarity. There comes a moment when your internal dialogue shifts. You stop asking, how do I make this work? And you start asking, what is the cost to me emotionally? What's this emotional cost, right? And that question in itself should change everything, because self-led leadership requires alignment, not endurance. You begin choosing peace over performance, alignment over attachment, self respect over self sacrifice. So today, my definition of love is very different. It feels calm, respectful, safe. It does not require performance, does not require proving, doesn't require survival skills. And if you're healing from romanticizing struggle, you may need to retrain your nervous system to tolerate peace. Peace is not boring. Peace is secure, ladies. If you are unlearning chaos, type unlearning in the comment section, right? So today, we unpacked a lot. And what we unpacked today was to stop romanticizing struggle, because love shouldn't hurt. And if you're feeling the shift, trust this. You are not, hear me when I say this, you are not breaking. You're not. You're becoming more self led. You're taking care of you. Authenticity isn't just who you are, but it's about how you lead. This is very important. Struggle is not a love language. Endurance is not intimacy. And suffering truly is not loyalty. Love should not hurt. Just not. And I want to say to you, if you're in the process of getting up from one of those tables that no longer serves you, know this. You're not quitting. Not at all. You are choosing yourself. And choosing yourself is what I refer to as self-led leadership. self-love. If this episode moved you, I'm going to ask you to share it, right? If it affirmed you, sit with that. That's real. And if it challenged you, then it's all good, right? Because growth is supposed to stretch you, not break you, right? So until next time, keep unpacking. And if this episode resonated with you, follow the show, share it with someone who's ready to redefine love, who's ready to step into their own authentic self. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been tuned in to Unpack This with your host, Gloria Bailey Ray, the authentic coach. Peace and blessings, you guys.